when you come here, this is not just Ugandans, but black people in general are very good talkers. They are swagnificent. So you're like, man, I met this guy. He can do this. And no, the guy can't do that, right? So then you want to get, in the United States, you pay a severe cost for that. Mm-hmm. But in Uganda, you don't necessarily pay a severe cost for that.
There's no accountability for that.
Yeah, because if we're in America, if you do something that I don't like and I have any power over you, I'm going to make sure that I ruin you in America because you lied about the service that you were getting. But that doesn't really happen here. In fact, you could be looked at as the bad guy for doing something like that.
Hi guys, welcome to Kenganda. My name is Juanita Maya and this is the Recalibration Podcast. We have an interesting episode today, but I'll let my right hand guest tell you who he is.
What's up guys, Master Gabs. Happy to be back in the building and looking forward to a good conversation.
You're welcome.
I'm just honored to be sitting by such a genius on the left. And O'Shea Duke Jackson, a.k.a. Don't Message Me. Shout out to VNA for this beautiful sherry. Yeah. Y'all need to pay me. But what are we talking about today, brother?
I mean, we were just having a conversation offline, off camera, and I feel like it's a good one for us to bring to the pod and kind of understand what the people in the community think about it as well. Get some reactions in the comments. So the scenario is this. Mm-hmm. You have an individual or a group of people who may not necessarily be your particular flavor in terms of the kind of individuals that you would want to spend your personal time with or develop friendships with. Mm-hmm. They may have different, ethics or choices that they've made that you don't necessarily agree with. Mm-hmm. And you might actually even dislike their character as people. Mm-hmm. But in the context of tapping into business opportunities, you find that this person could actually be a conduit to helping you grow and achieve something that you want to get done. Mm-hmm. How do you navigate that? And what is the right decision to make in the moment?
Did you say conduit?
Yes.
Man, those SAT words, man. I heard it in a while.
That Masters of Business Administration didn't come easy.
It's coming in, yeah.
You're reading books, yeah? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I want to know from either one of you guys, like, first of all,
yeah,
can you refer to a situation where maybe you've had that dilemma of, I don't really mess with this person.
Yes.
But I must.
Yes.
Right? It's a necessary evil that I need to deal with in my life in order to be able to get where I want to go or take those 2 steps forward.
Yeah.
My goals are very clearly and specifically laid out, and the path toward achieving that goal goes through him or her.
Yeah.
And so how do I set my personal feelings aside, switch on my business mind, and understand what it is that I need to do? What are the decisions that go into the process of navigating that?
Can I start first?
Yeah.
Please.
Okay. I'm struggling with that now. We talk about that. We've talked about it here on the podcast. I've talked to you about it personally. And I'm one of those people, and I think like living in Uganda, and because Kampala is small. First of all, what I've noticed is you're hanging out with people in the diaspora, or even in the community here, that if you had an opportunity to see them in the States, you would never want to talk to them. Mm-hmm. Maybe it probably goes the same way, right? Especially in diaspora, like British, African American, whoever else, right? Like, there's no way that me and you would ever be friends in California or New York City. I would never even talk to you, and vice versa. But because of, this small ecosystem here, you're almost forced to be friends with people that you would never, ever hang out with, period. So let's start there. And also, let's start in the local business community. If we were in the States, there is no way I would even consider supporting your business. Absolutely not. But maybe you have a specific skill that I need. And I'm almost forced to work with you. And we're talking about a certain individual I have a long block list. I'm not afraid to admit that. And there's a certain individual that I just don't like this person, right? I just don't like them. I think they're silly as F. My mom is watching, so I can't curse. But that person is valuable. And the hardest thing for me and many other people, I think you're going to come across the dilemma. I don't like you. So therefore, as an entrepreneur, I have the power to punish you because I don't like you. And in business, when you do have that ability to try to punish somebody, you want to do it. Especially me. I'm like anybody else. If you've done something to me in the private sector and I have the ability to pay it forward, I'm inclined to want to do that just out of revenge or out of being petty. I've learned that, number one, it's maybe not worth my time to do that. But then number two, that the individual who is doing that might not see where they did anything wrong. That's kind of where that's where the learning and developing is for me. Is that this person that you've tried to reach out to and you've tried to build a bridge, you've tried to show value, and we talked about that before in the episode. And that individual has not digested that to make this malleable for this partnership. They don't even appreciate it at all. And that person still wants to do whatever they want to do. And you're like, or they don't fulfill, let me just kind of back up. A lot of collaborations in the Uganda market that a lot of people don't understand, they're never going to be equal. So you're not going to get any parity. You're thinking that you're going to get parity, you're not. So you're looking for, I'm going to bring this to the table, and they can promise you anything, and they don't bring it. And in the States, if you do that, it is a death sentence. You know, we're going to talk about you to everybody. Don't do business with this person, don't do business, whatever. And you find out that that doesn't work here because that person would have given you 10%, but the situation is, who's to say the next person won't give you 8%?
Yeah.
But you know you're going to get this 10% here. All right? So I feel like now I have to adjust myself, and any other person coming from the diaspora, you're going to have to adjust yourself to the fact that that person is giving you something, and you know you may not like what that person has done for whatever reason, being late, not following through, lying, and all of those things you can take personal. But I don't think that it's personal. It's just how things are. So now it's me as an individual, I took it personal because you failed me on a project or whatever else. Now here's an opportunity for me to come back to you. Now I want to make sure that you suffer a lot. And I have done that. I love doing that. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. It's something that I enjoy. Like, you didn't do what you're going to do. I have some level of power over you now. I'm going to make you pay for it. Then it comes to the point where, okay, now this person is, you know, they have something that you really need. Should you consider it? And I think for me, it's still an evolving process. And I sometimes will have to listen to what others are saying and take my personal feelings out of it because I have so many feelings in it. And then my idea is I don't need that person anyway. I'm going to make that person suffer, or I'm going to do it without them. In reality, I should really look at the wisdom that is being, and maybe defer what is going on to somebody who's more familiar with the particular market than what I am. And despite whatever success I may think I'm having at the time, is to listen to the reason of how it should be handled. Maybe I don't need to handle it. Maybe somebody else can handle it for me. Well, I can focus on something else. But still, I have that problem. I struggle with it every day. And I've made my little issues in the private sector with certain individuals because they didn't deliver, they lied. And, you know, now I'm willing to suffer because I want them to suffer. Yeah. And they probably ain't even thinking about me. So.
Can I go next?
Please.
I'll speak for Ugandans when I say Ugandans are quite hospitable. Like, you literally shout at a Ugandan 1 minute and they'll smile with you in the next minute. Am I wrong?
It's true.
Yeah. So it's not the community that I'm in or the community that I'm around. I don't see a lot of people hold grudges. It's not a Ugandan thing. I feel like that's also a problem in itself because someone may keep you on that top list or hit list, and you'd never know because this person is smiling at you every day. Maybe you're going into work, they're smiling at you, that they're hugging you, words of encouragement, everything is, they're acting like everything is fine. The whole time they could be having like some hidden agenda or anything like that. But also I feel like Ugandans are very forgiving people because like you can go back and forth with them and then they'll just be like, oh, it's okay, I understand where you come from and whatnot. But what Gabs was talking about, I think sometimes, well, I'll speak like an employee because I'm not an employer. Like, I feel like sometimes you have to understand that the company is different from you as an individual.
Right.
So it wouldn't matter what I think or what I feel like with this person. Like, I have to do my job at the end of the day. You can't go to your boss and say, oh, I can't work with this person because I feel like they are ABC. It's just like, okay, put your feelings aside, but what can they do for the company?
Right.
So like as an employee, it's not something you can rely on the most, or it's not something you can do. I mean, I've had some people come on the podcast, I'm not cool with them, but I'm smiling at them and I'm working with them, and it's just like, it's not about me.
Really? You want to tell me after?
No, just one person. It's not like I hate the person, anything like that. We're not cool outside the studio and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's nothing, there's no bad blood between us. I wouldn't care for the person, It's just like I have a job to do. So I'll sit up here and do my job at the end of the day.
But then, let me ask you this though.
I'm not going to hold.
Is that different than, because I think I know you're talking about. As that person has a certain, I won't call the name, but that person has certain views or things that is against you.
No, it's not. It's not bad.
Or is it a person that you have done something for and then that person let you down, and then, because we are in the free market, which means that if I don't really like what you have done in the past, this person has shown evidence of lying, of not delivering, of cheating, of not being a person that's worth doing business with. Yeah. It could be different for a person like, I don't like you for whatever reason. And don't get me wrong.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, this person has already shown evidence. Because there's some people that I don't like. For whatever reason, I just don't like you. But I'm also logical enough to say, well, this person hasn't done anything in the private sector, such that I should not like them. Yeah. However, we're talking about, I believe, to Gab's point, what the question that he's posing rhetorically is, what about a person who has shown evidence of that, but that person's a player in the industry? Yeah,
I get what you're bringing up. The way I would look at it is, this person is not that company. Because if they're like, 50 employees, and then it's just the boss who's acting funny, you may find his employees are actually better at doing that job, and then he's just out there, destroying that reputation, is what I'm thinking sometimes. So sometimes you kind of just have to look at it and be like, is that how the company operates, or is it the person in the company operating like that? I think that's a different perspective.
Gabs, you have more experience in the private sector here than me. What's the answer to this?
Well, I mean, my experience is different simply because I feel like I have a good ability to compartmentalize my feelings depending on the scenario and the situation. So I've been in many situations where you sit down with somebody and for one reason or another, the conversation goes left. Maybe my opinion is being presented in a way that's not palatable to you. And all of a sudden you've decided that you don't like me as an individual because I've offended your sensibilities because I was too generous with the unvarnished truth. That's happened to me many times, right?
Yeah.
You can ask any number of individuals running around in these Kampala streets. They may have been offended by the unvarnished truth that I distribute so freely and willingly, right? If I can put it that way. But on the flip side, I've also been taken aback and offended by people's lack of willingness to accept accountability for things going wrong when they were personally responsible for it, right? We sit down and we understand this is how it needs to go. This is what we expect to happen. And because you have a lack of accountability on that, I immediately switch off the ability to respect you.
Right.
And if I can't respect you, I can't work with you.
Yeah.
Right.
Not in a meaningful way that makes sense to me anyway.
Right.
But then again, sometimes after you've exhausted every move that you can possibly make to find somebody else to work with, you end up coming back to this person.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Or this group of individuals who happen to be led by said person.
Yes.
I think for me in that particular point, one of the things that I remind myself to do, and I always encourage other people to do this as well, is to recalibrate your expectations.
Okay.
Because when you and I first met, we were introducing ourselves to each other's representative, right? When I met Joan, she was putting her best foot forward. Yeah. And it wasn't until we saw something different in each other that I became disappointed.
This is hypothetical.
Yes, sorry.
When
I met O'Shea,
in case anyone wants to
when I
jump
met
to
so
a
and
conclusion.
so, and we saw the best in each other in that particular moment, but then the course of events played out whereby one or the other of us was disappointed.
Right.
The smart thing to do is now adjust your expectations to a more realistic level.
Yes.
Because I'm expecting you to deliver on 10 based upon the way that you presented yourself to me, but then you deliver on 6. I'm not going to ever come back to you expecting 10 ever again. I'll recalibrate my expectations and be like, okay, what can I achieve with this person, knowing that they're only capable of reaching the 6th level?
So let me just talk about recalibration, because I think it's so important. Shout out to Brother Lotsany. He's the one that really broke something down to me. He said, listen, you're looking for parity in Africa, and you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
I would even say, not even just here, in the black world, it's a problem all over the black world. Yeah. And to that point, I think you've really explained it, and you set the expectations that so many people that want to come to Uganda or anywhere in the black diaspora, that recalibration situation there, another SAT word, you're going to be doing that a lot.
Yeah.
And again, I think that let's say talk about something that's not equal but similar. We're talking about business partnerships in this instance, but then what about those of people you hire? That's a lot of recalibrations that occur in developing and training employees, because during the interview, a person can say anything. And then when you hire them, you find out that one of my better editors now is Agre. Agre was talking about how good he was. Agre was terrible. He could barely turn his computer on. Now, Agre is really good, but it took a year to get there, right? And I think also, to your point, and I'm going to give it back to you guys, is now I have no expectations at all. I used to be and I forgot, like, when you come here, this is not just Ugandans, but black people in general are very good talkers. They are swagnificent. So you're like, man, I met this guy. He can do this. And no, the guy can't do that, right? So then you want to get in the United States, you pay a severe cost for that. But in Uganda, you don't necessarily pay a severe cost for that.
There's no accountability for that.
Yeah, because if we're in America, if you do something that I don't like and I have any power over you, I'm going to make sure that I ruin you in America because you lied about the service that you're getting. But that doesn't really happen here. In fact, you could be looked at as the bad guy for doing something like that. You know, we had an event. Won't even talk about what event it was one time. The guy came that delivered a particular photo booth. The guy came and delivered it in flip-flops.
Yep.
And the guy was, if you're going to overcharge, at least put some regular shoes on. The guy came in flip-flops. Some people even said that the guy looked like he didn't even have a shower. All right?
Like he woke up and just go there.
Then the guy has an attitude on top of that. So, I mean, look at all those struggles, and which one can you pick? And us Americans that are coming over from that world where, you know, people are making an effort in the private sector, people here are trying to make money and not trying to keep the money coming on, and they think that nothing is going wrong. Like a lot of people, I talked about this earlier, they're overextended in the business. So many Ugandans that I see, they're not like somebody like me where I specialize in just this. They're in this, they're in farming, they have a wife, they have like 5 kids. They're a partner in this and a partner in that. So they have, I mean, because I think here, which is taught in the business community, is you need to have your money in several different sources, or which is, in theory, that's true.
Yeah.
But they forgot to tell them that you need to be actually skilled in that. So many of these people are trying to use it at the same time, and it's not like John Paul DeZoria. John Paul DeZoria, do you know him?
Yes.
He's the owner of Patron, part owner of Patron, and he had Redken, Paul Mitchell hair care products.
Yep, Paul Mitchell hair care. Yep.
So Paul Mitchell hair care came first, then came Patron. Both became $1 billion ideas, but at different times. But what I see in Uganda in the entrepreneurial role, many times in Africa, there's farming, there's restaurants, there's kids, there's wives, there's a corporate job, there's attorneys, all at the same time. And what you cannot do any of that. And then so because you're overextended, now whoever partners with you is suffering based on you being an overextended individual. And you come where you just can't deliver to the person you're trying to do business with. And so you're going to see that a lot from a lot of guys that are in the business sector here. But to the point that Gabs is saying, and to what Jonita was saying, and I have a big problem with this, which I need to change, is as the owner of the business, take yourself out of your personal animosity for what the individual did, and look at how the corporation would benefit from if that person can deliver, recalibrating 40%. Is it better than them being out of it 0%?
I think coming from my experience, having, started businesses and had employees, some of whom I got along very well with and still do to this day, even though we haven't worked together in a while. And some who I came not to appreciate.
A nice way of saying it.
I think one of the things that we conflate in doing business is the notion that in order for us to succeed together, we need to love each other.
Yeah.
And act like we're friends.
Yes.
And a lot of that is a facade that people put on for the sake of developing this relationship that in most cases, like you said, there's always a consistent lack of parity.
Yes.
So in most cases, one person's reaction to the other is more than likely fraudulent. I don't necessarily care about you as much as I say I do, but because it's going to help me get where I need to go, I'm going to act like I'm loyal to you. Excuse me. I'm going to act like I'm loyal to you. I'm going to act like every joke that you say, no matter how whack it is, that's the funniest shit I've ever heard in my life. Right. You know what I mean? Right. I think there's an increased level of familiarity that happens among bosses and employees and businesses that actually makes the waters murky a little bit, because when you happen to be in a position now where as an employer you need to reprimand or correct the behaviors or give guidance to somebody in a way that makes them feel uncomfortable, there's a lot of hurt feelings.
Yeah.
And when feelings get hurt, people make irrational decisions on both sides of the coin. Yes. Or it could be the other way around. It may not necessarily be you as the boss have said something that hurts the feelings or offends the sensibilities of your employer. It could be the employee demonstrates a lack of loyalty because you as an employer have invested so much time, effort into grooming, uplifting, supporting in things that don't even necessarily have to do with their role of employment within your business. Their mothers are sick. You're giving them extra money and time off. My kid is sick. I need to pay my bills. I need an advance and I'm not going to be able to survive with this advance deducting from my salary. So just give me the money off the top as it is. All of these things go along to helping people feel better about their relationships, but also at the same time, it involves pitfalls that could fracture your relationship at the same time. So I think, again, that's where compartmentalizing comes into play. If I have an employee, and I have had employees who were blatantly and flagrantly disloyal to me, but at the same time, given the specialized skill set that I needed this person to execute, I might not necessarily be so quick to fire him or her based off of the disloyalty that they've shown me. As long as they can consistently deliver a set of tasks that profit my business.
Right.
I might be able to dismiss that disloyalty, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to recalibrate my willingness to follow through on some of those things that they have asked me for before that I was so generous to help them with.
Right.
So you haven't achieved this level of education or schooling. I'm willing to invest some of my money and resources to help you get a certificate, a diploma, and do this thing so we can grow our business together. Fuck that.
Yeah.
That's now out the window, my guy. You're going to stay right here. Right. You're going to do just this that I need you to do. And once I have exhausted your utility to my business, I am very glad to usher you out the door.
That is so true. And that is, man, I'll go ahead, John. That's story of my life.
You guys were talking about what? Please say the word.
Recalibrating.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm shaming my university. They must be shaking their heads right
Calibrating is making something equal, right?
I know what it means. It's just the pronunciation that's giving.
We do it for tires.
Restoring the balance.
Yeah, balance.
The African in me wanted to jump out. I didn't want to embarrass myself on camera like that.
It's okay.
But anyway, I was saying how you guys are talking about expectations and what personally I'm expecting 100% from everyone.
Yeah.
It's like if you disappoint me, I'll still, it's just like, why should I expect less from you? Then I shouldn't be dealing with you at all. Because it's like, it doesn't, for me, it doesn't make sense. Like I want to expect the best out of you. If you give me, the bare minimum, or if you give me a 5, then I'm not dealing with you again. I'm sorry. I know we're talking about giving people second chances and giving people grace.
No, but that's fair. That's fair.
But in my personal journey, not in work, that's different. But I'm just like, I can't. I'm sorry. If I'm giving 100 and you're not giving 100, then what am I doing? I'm sorry.
So no, I agree with that. But the issue is, let's say, for example, his recalibration in Uganda would be less likely to occur if he were in the United States.
Oh, facts. There's zero tolerance. Zero
so
tolerance.
In the United States, something that's a little bit more skilled in Dubai. And I've said this to even everybody on my team. All of you in the States will be fired. I said that's just
quick, fast.
There's nobody, not one person. Even my mom, these guys here. But I love them so much though. But they've been fired like at least 17 times. Right? But the issue is when we're in Africa, we gotta look at all the nations that have developed. The Singapores, the whites, they've all dealt with this at a certain level, and it's teaching your people to become leaders and teaching your people to hold each other accountable. And now I find my staff now, who maybe I would have been like, you're terrible. And now they're saying, you need to do this yourself. You didn't do X, Y, and Z, which means as the leader that I need to respond to that. So again, it is a process.
Yeah.
But what I would have to say is also as a leader, and I mean, inside the business, I believe that's one thing. But as you really want to grow, and we have a speed networking event, and Brother Gaba has been so nice to just really add on to that. Unfortunately, in Kenganda Studios, we don't need partnerships. Mm-hmm. A speed networking event, we need partnerships. Now we need the venue. Shout out to Brother Hillary in Zimbabwe. You need the photo booth. You need somebody to do the photo backdrop. You need a photographer.
Mixologist.
Shout out to Amplify Bartenders. Did an amazing job. Yeah. So you need people that are going to come in that are not, they're also going to see themselves as equal to you because they're doing a service for hire. Mm-hmm. And I believe that is where you see your most issues at. And sometimes, let's say, for example, like PC gamers, how about use them? They're the only ones. They do a great job. But it's not many people that build custom PCs to this level in Uganda. You see? So if a person like that you have an issue with, you don't really have an opportunity to say, I'm going to go somewhere else because that person doesn't exist. Do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So and I think a lot of the problems in the diaspora is we're going to come across people that have limited skills, but they know, they have the skill set and they know it. And they can use that to their advantage because they know like it's going to be very difficult for you to get rid of them. And that is something for me. It's hard for me to do business with people that I just generally think you're phony. As something else I said, I think you're just fraudulent. Mm-hmm. I think you're stupid.
You're lame.
You're lame ass. Mm-hmm. If I really feel that way about you, and the kind of straightforward person that I am, it's hard for me to even hide it. I'm not good enough at business to be like, you're a lame person, and then I see you, and I can compartmentalize. When you're somebody that I feel that is very lame, it comes out strongly. And I'm the kind of business person that I want you to know that you're lame. I'm working on that. Uganda is teaching me to deal with that better, but it's just in me. It's just in me that I think that you're silly and you're stupid. And I don't even want you talking to me because you're wasting my time. But that doesn't mean that's the right attitude. And so what I want to tell people in the diaspora that are coming over is it is a lot of learning. It is a lot of developing. And you're going to have people that you need. In your own personal business, you'll have problems. But the biggest issues are your collaborations. And you're going to need people that, let's say, for example, for an event, they build sets or they do lighting or they do sound. And then if somebody lets you down there, how do you address that? And how do you deal with that? Because it's going to happen.
There's literally no business that you can run. Now, I'm trying to think about it. I'm trying to think about it in my mind. There's no business that you can build without the need for some kind of a meaningful collaboration. Unless you're like, a carpenter who works with your hands and you build things from scratch and you sell those items. And all I need is myself, my tools. I buy the wood and I work.
Right.
Or I'm a painter, or I'm an artist. Unless you're a creator of some kind. But if you have, a business that involves commerce and you need business partners who are suppliers, vendors, right? If you're trying to establish any kind of brick and mortar business, you need people to handle construction and sourcing of materials and goods, and all these things require partnerships that mean something to you. And 9 times out of 10, one of them is going to mess up.
Right.
And so, to your point, it's easy to just rely upon my natural instinct to just let people know exactly what I feel about them.
Yes.
And I spent a lot of time doing that. And I also spent a lot of time alienating myself from people because of that.
Please talk about that. Like, how are you doing it at first?
I think I've learned a lot from that experience in terms of working from the space of the expectation that everybody's standard is my standard.
Okay.
My standard of quality, my standard of execution, my standard of ethics in how we manage relationships is different from most other people.
Yeah.
And when somebody falls short of my standard, I would become very reactive. And reactive not only in my mood and my attitude, but in the words that I would say to them to make it explicitly clear, I'm not messing with you.
Yes.
Right?
That's me.
I don't respect you.
That's me.
I don't like anything about you.
That's me.
And as far as I'm concerned, if you were the shit underneath my shoe, you would be better off than what I think of you right now.
That is definitely me.
Do you think that's an American thing?
Not necessarily, because I know a lot of Europeans who come off with the same energy.
It's definitely more of a Western world thing than here.
So Western, I
would definitely say
I would say that.
Yeah.
But I say that to say this. I've also had a lot of opportunities to be humbled in return.
Yes.
I've had a lot of opportunities to understand that this system that works here exists in a way that is foreign to my understanding.
Right.
And it's not for me to mold the system to cater to what is important to me. It is up for me to adapt my style and my sensibility to function within this system that exists. And it will move and it will morph and it will create new standards different from what I value. So I need to make sure that I have the savvy and the ability to still make things move and make things happen without feeling like I'm being disingenuous. Because at the same time, I don't like coming off as a liar. I don't like coming off as a fake and as a phony. So
especially to yourself.
Exactly, to myself. I need to be able to look in myself in the mirror and respect that I'm doing what's right by my principles and my values. So again, we come to recalibrating the approach. How do you package the message? How do you dress it up in a way where people with a heightened level of sensitivity can receive the message and still understand the seriousness of it, but not be offended by the language that you're using in the delivery? That's the biggest piece that I've had to learn. The language that I use in delivery, the tone of voice and delivery that I present has got to be something that is welcomed by the listener. And
even when it's their fault, that's the killer part.
Even when it's their fault. And similarly, when I'm now trying to evaluate how to go about reconsidering doing something with this person, again, I have to the 80-20 rule, right?
Mm-hmm.
After shed away the 80% of the crap that comes along with it and focus on that 20% of goodness that I can get out of that person. And how do I focus like Elijah to get that 20 as opposed to having to deal with the crap of the 80?
And let me say this, because I struggle, and I disagree with a little bit. I mean, because I know like how to morph into how to do things here. I agree with that slightly. But for me, and the kind of person that I am, I feel like, and this is probably what it could be shooting me down the foot. I feel like the way I do things, it works like this. And if they're not going to work like this, you're going to work like this eventually. I could be very wrong. That's the one disagreement I think I'll have there is I feel like so many talented Ugandans, such as yourself and other people, who are people who can execute at a high level. I always tell you, I think you have more talent than me in something like this. But I feel like because we have capitulated to SAT word, to what's going on here in this market, it has kept the status quo as to what it is. Mm-hmm. And so now we are working inside of a system which leads to nowhere. I feel like that is what's happening in Uganda to a certain degree in the private sector. So because of that, I feel like, and I find myself, or people have messed up, I find myself having to explain myself and present it to them in a way that doesn't hurt their feelings. When that person doesn't feel like they did anything wrong, that person doesn't feel like they need to owe me an apology or whatever customers they messed up. And I just feel like, okay, you know what? That person doesn't need to be in the business, and we're going to show them why they don't need to be in the business. And they're going to have to just suffer while I'm here for whatever reason. And that has just been my mentality. Not to be like rude, but sometimes, like this guy, Shaquille O'Neal, he used to make up things himself that say like Dave Robinson hated him when it wasn't true, just so he would have a reason to, and I kind of reason to want to do better against him. And for me, I feel like every time something happens to me in this market, I feel like it is up to me to try to, you know what? Okay, if that's how you're going to be, let me give the customers a better experience in some way than you won't. And I could be very wrong, but I feel like so many people that buy into the system end up being one of those people that, that guy has so much talent. They get suppressed. I feel like so many talented Ugandans that try to get into the system, they end up being suppressed by lesser talented individuals because they have capitulated. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's keeping it down. That's my honest opinion. I see so many talented people here, and you're like, why isn't this person leading this or that? And it's because, they feel like they needed to change. And I feel like it happens also in the political scope where somebody comes in, they want to do something, but the system's a little bit corrupt. So now that corrupt system is like, okay, you need to get along, go along to get along. And it continues to not develop and not grow. And I get that, somebody like myself can do better in how I deliver. And that definitely something I understand. But at the certain level is they need to pay in full, get down or lay down, or you need to be run over. Let the people that want to take these industries to the next level and who are willing to do it, let them do it. And levels of transparency and levels of things that can help not only this, but the continent. And I think that because we're dealing with trying to go back and forth with corruption in certain elements in the private sector, that's why we're behind. Instead of giving the talented people in Uganda look, do you know how many times I've seen somebody who's a house cleaner who should be a GM, or somebody who should be leading the country and not, hey, there's a thing here in Uganda. I'll talk about it now. Let's go to Kenya and get somebody to run the company and not a Ugandan or Indonesian or Pakistani or Indian. When the person is there, but the person that has a talent has capitulated. So now we can't get that person to lead the country in the way that it should. So I think for me, there's a balance between both, which means that the people in the country that want to benefit from the good or service need to get it at a high level. And whatever it takes to get it to them, let that person lead. Oh, it's not even a Ugandan thing. It happens in Black America. You've lived in Black America. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. And Nigeria, and then what happens is, where do you see these? We call it 2 words: the brain drain. These people just go to places where things have more transparency, and you don't have to capitulate to it. I'm going to say it to what I consider is private sector idiots. Enemies, you call them EOPs, enemies of progress.
Yeah.
And if we continue the enemy of progress and submitting to these guys, where will Africa be? I think the guys that swing the bat, it's their time is now. And I get that people need to grow up. We have a big problem with accountability in the private sector all over the Black world, and it's really stopping progress instead of saying, hey, look, you're terrible. You're awful at what you do. You can be mad about it if you want. But you suck. Here's 1,000 reasons why you're terrible. Look, if you don't want to understand this, you'll be out of business. But we're so kind of concerned about, we don't want to hurt this guy's feelings and everything. And I get we need to say it, but how are we going to develop that they don't know? That's my difference of opinion in that. But
yeah. Gabs, we should wrap this up, or you guys?
Well, I mean, I think that the one final thing that I want to say is, I think everybody has ambitions in life, regardless of what business you happen to be involved in. Everybody has ambitions in life, but 99% of people want to achieve those ambitions while remaining within their comfort zone.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's those outliers, that 1% of individuals who are willing to get out of that comfort zone and be comfortable being uncomfortable, who end up being the change makers and the change agents that we're looking to see in this business environment that we're all living in and working in. But then again, a lot of the time, the change agent is also the unpopular one. Because when you force people to turn the mirror on themselves and look at themselves with a critical eye, they may not necessarily enjoy what they see. And because you're provoking that feeling within them, they dislike you for it. Mm-hmm. They don't appreciate your approach to it. So I think to a large degree, as you said, the way forward is for us to focus on making sure that everybody gets the best out of what it is that they're trying to achieve.
Right.
I think if you're comfortable being that change agent, if you're comfortable being that person who isn't, relying upon popularity or the goodwill of everybody for you to be fulfilled, and you're willing to kind of shake the table and make things happen in a way that wakes people up, stand on that and be that, because we need people like that. Mm-hmm. And I think in every industry, people should be willing and actively in pursuit of identifying who is that person? Mm-hmm. What is it that I can learn from that person about myself, about this business and this industry that I'm in? And what is it that we can do to move forward in a way that helps me grow, helps this industry grow, helps our people grow in general? In summary to it all, you're never going to like 100% about an individual who you deal with.
Yes.
Right? For example, I love O'Shea Duke Jackson, but some of the stuff that he says rubs me the wrong way. And I tell him.
Yeah.
And I don't have any qualms about telling him, but I also expect that he's going to share the same with me. And he has shared the same with me. And we have a mutual respect out of that. Similarly, my sister Joan and I debate about some of the facts of life. And
in between podcasts,
we've done it on camera before, and we still appreciate and respect each other as a result of that, because we understand the goodness of what it is that we're trying to bring out of each other. So I think as long as you lead with the benefit that you're trying to create for somebody, the benefit that you're trying to create for yourself, be transparent about it. Not every relationship is going to be roses, but you'll figure it out. Yeah, so there's no solution here. We're not really trying to create a roadmap or a blueprint for anybody to, pick a leaf from. This is just a conversation starter. We want to hear what you guys have got to say in the comments. I'm interested to see what people have to say about their unique experiences navigating, fractured friendships, personal relationship dynamics versus what it is that you need to do in order to be able to get business handled.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Applause for Gabs.
Yeah.
We'll say Gabs. Asha, do you have any last remarks?
I'm reminded of a character in the Bible. I'm not so much of a religious person as much as I used to be, but there was somebody by the name of John the Baptist. And John the Baptist is known primarily for being a mentor or so-called mentor to Jesus Christ. And he had the priesthood on both sides of his family, but the scripture says that he was very unkept, wild locust, but he said that he was making the path right for who was coming after him, which ended up being Jesus Christ. But he was somewhat of a shit starter. He ended up getting beheaded. And what he had to say, I believe the first sermon that John preached was, repent, the kingdom of God is upon you, Mark 1:15. And people just did not like the way that he came. But his whole idea was not for people to like him. I think in our business sector in the Black world is we want to make people feel comfortable instead of making the pathway straight. If you watch football, a fullback's job is not to be pretty, but he makes the pathway for the tailback or he blocks for the quarterback. And sometimes when you're mavericks like us in this game, what we're here to do and others who will join us in this endeavor is not to be pretty, but we're here to make the path straight. Now, on the other side, we're going to have some individuals who come, especially some of those of us who have been exposed. A guy by people like me, we've been exposed to the other side. We were educated by the other side. And so we understand what level of transparency leads in the business, incentivizing the private sector and things like that. Some people that we're partnering with may have not seen it coming from that side. But one of the things is that as a person that's brought this podcast to Uganda, I know that this way is what is working. It has to work. We're building a community around what we're trying to do. And we need to be with people who want to build the community around what we are trying to do in the right way. Some of the partners may or may not want to believe that, and we could try to talk to them. But if we can't get the skill set that we need from these individuals, we can always do more to bring it in. Like Satati. Kenganda didn't move until I moved here from Kenya. That's when it moved, remember? We couldn't get anything done for 2.5 years. We brought this guy here, the rest is history. And then those skills were shared. And again, yes, at some points we're going to be doing business with people that we don't like and that they can't do the job. But their time needs to be limited, and we need to make provisions as to how to replace those individuals. Because Africa and the Black world needs to move forward. Everybody else is moving forward. The whites are doing it, Asians doing it, Indians are doing it. I know I'm y'all hot. But it has to go. No matter what people are saying. And if they don't want to go, let them be left behind. Uber was an industry disruptor. Remember when BlackBerry was the best smartphone? And Apple said, hey, look, we don't care about how you feel. These things need to change. So I felt like, yes, we're going to be dealing with people for the time being who we need to deal with and whatever to have relationships with. But if not, they need to be put out of business. End of story. And if they don't like it, hey, we have a lot of tissues you can buy in Frame Market or Care for Market that you can cry on. And somebody like myself, I'm here, and I'm literally here in the Black world. I'm here to make somebody cry. That's why I'm here. I'm not here for anything else other than that. If you don't want to move it forward, you need to step out of the way, get out of the private sector, and let somebody who wants to come in and do it. This is the business world. And I don't feel like Blacks or Africans, whoever you want to identify yourself with, deserves anything lesser than the great service that you said you were going to give them, and then you don't give it to them because you want to be a liar or cheat.
Yes, well said.
It's that Lux daily wrap-up crew.
Yeah, shout out to the wrap-up crew.
It's mad breathability in that fabric right there.
Yeah.
Let me just one last thing, but I do appreciate, like I said, learning how to do things.
I'm hot as hell right now.
Yeah, there is again, I'm still learning like everybody else.
Yeah, we're all learning. We're students of life. Thank you so much for that, O'Shea. That's the perfect way to end the episode.
You want to end it?
If you have anything else.
No.
Yeah. Gabs, where can they find you? Gabs is the one who came up with this topic, by the way.
Yeah, I like this, man. I need to write down some more topics for the show. I like this.
should.
I'm going to come through with some more interesting dialogue points for us to discuss on the Repat podcast.
Yeah.
Follow me at Master Gabs on all the platforms that matter. Check out the Allergic to Average podcast on YouTube. Allergic, 2, Average. Have some dope stuff on there.
Yeah.
More great stuff to come in 2024. And we're excited.
Thank you.
Last thing, Kevin Samuel said, we're building the plane while we're flying it.
Yep.
And I think that's just really what we're doing. Nobody says it's going to be easy.
Yeah.
But look forward to us. I think the date's January 27th.
Yeah, we have a speed networking event.
Yeah.
On the 27th. So don't message O'Shea, but you can send us an email at teamkenganda@gmail.com, and you can follow us on all our social media pages at Kenganda Nation. Follow me at Johnny Tamaya. I'll see you guys next time.